The schedule for the Dallas Cowboys in 2019 has officially taken shape. Things got quite tenuous for the team recently, following up a playoff-less 9-7 finish from the previous season with a 3-5 start to 2018. Refusing to go down without a fight, however, they jettisoned offensive line coach Paul Alexander and hurled a 2019 first-round pick at the Oakland Raiders to land Pro Bowl wide receiver Amari Cooper, and went on a 7-1 run that landed them their second NFC East crown in 3 years and third in the past 5. Having one more trick up their sleeve, the Cowboys shut down the Seattle Seahawks in the wildcard game and were riding a tsunami of momentum that ended abruptly against the Los Angeles Rams the following weekend. That notwithstanding, they took definite strides in the right direction. With that all in the rear view, they can turn their eyes forward at what's to come in 2019, and knowing who each of their opponents are, we can dissect what's to come. First, a quick refresher on how the NFL chooses what teams will square off each season. 6 games against divisional opponents, 2 games per team, 1 at home and 1 on the road. 4 games against teams from a division within its conference, 2 games at home and 2 on the road. 4 games against teams from a division in the other conference, 2 games at home and 2 on the road. 2 games against teams from the 2 remaining divisions in its own conference, 1 game at home and 1 on the road. Matchups are based on division ranking from the previous season. Because they won the NFC East, the Cowboys will face a tougher slate that includes division winners from the remainder of the conference, with everything now settled in those slots and others based on the NFL's schedule algorithm that remains unchanged for now. Let's have a gander and look back at the history of each matchup to get an idea of what the future might hold. Series record, 8-4-0, Cowboys led. There's a reason the Bills despise the Cowboys, and it's a damn good one. Although they've rarely met in the regular season, they know each other quite well from postseason play that stretches back to the early to mid-1990s. It was then the Bills made it to the Super Bowl a record 4 consecutive times, coming up empty with each trip. Their last 2 failures came at the hands of the Cowboys, who dismantled them on both occasions with a combined score of 82-30. Buffalo hasn't sniffed a deep postseason run since and, to this day, despises Dallas for their role in breaking the organization. That history will always loom large when these two go toe-to-toe, and they will again in 2019. Series record, 1-5-1-1-0, Cowboys led. It may feel like the 1980s and 1990s are back because the Bears and Cowboys are carrying the best defenses in the NFL. At the same time, the new monsters of the Midway seemingly on a collision course with the new doomsday defense that resides in North Texas. The Cowboys took the last 2 meetings after the Bears rattled off 3 straight between 2010 and 2013, and if the chips fall a certain way, we could see the 2 square off for their 37th battle in this year's playoffs. All-Pro linebacker Khalil Mack leads a Bears defense that's as bloodthirsty as the one captained by All-Pro defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence, and neither know what it means to back down. From now and until further notice, expect the clashes between these 2 clubs to be a bare-knuckled, back-alley brawl. Series record, 1-4-1-6-0, Cowboys lead. Much unlike their battles with the other NFC North team mentioned above, the Cowboys haven't had much trouble downing the Vikings whenever they've squared off. They're winners of the last 2 meetings, and 7 of the last 10, numbers that help give them the edge over a team now led by quarterback Kirk Cousins, a player Dallas knows all too well from his time with the Washington Redskins. The Cowboys swept Cousins 2 years in a row when he was in the NFC East, and he's not exactly taking the league by storm in Minnesota. It could be a fun defensive game to watch, though. Series record, 1-6-1-2-0, Cowboys led. At one point, it was all the Cowboys could do to be competitive with a Lions team that carried the nuclear warhead known as Megatron. Wide receiver Calvin Johnson routinely seeking and destroying any hope Dallas had of leaving with a win. Since his retirement, it's been all Cowboys, who've won all of the last 3 contests. That stretch includes a January battle in 2015 that went wire to wire, and ended with Lawrence landing a game-clinching sack fumble on Matthew Stafford that instantly took him from being a GOAT to being called the GOAT. He's been dominant ever since and is in line to land a windfall extension in 2019, and should it be the Cowboys who award it, Stafford will be in trouble for a long time to come. Series record 7-7-0. Non-conference teams rarely meet up, which explains why there are only 14 battles between these two clubs. The Dolphins owned the matchup in the mid to late 1980s, winning 4 straight before the dynasty Cowboys showed up in the 1990s, balancing things out by winning 5 of the next 6. Obviously, both teams look precipitously different, and not just personnel-wise. Neither has a high-flying offense, and Ryan Tannehill can't remain healthy long enough to truly impact the Dolphins' season. The tie will be broken in 2019, and considering this game will be at it, neither Dan Marino nor Troy Aikman will run out of the tunnel, but each team can randomly put up points, so it'll be something to watch, especially considering this will reportedly be the Thanksgiving game. Series record 1-7-1-2-0. Cowboys led. Whenever the Cowboys meet the Saints, you mark your calendar and rearrange your life accordingly. It was as recent as Week 13 of the 2018 season when the latter was supposed to mop the floor with the former, but instead got suffocated en route to the biggest upset of the NFL season. It was shades of 2009, when the then undefeated Saints were handed their first loss by the Cowboys in New Orleans, all of it adding a mystique to the overall series between the Southern neighbors. Few fan bases loathe each other like the ones who support these two clubs, and there might be more history to be documented this January, with both in the playoffs and the Saints having home field advantage throughout the tournament. It's to be determined if the Cowboys will make their way to New Orleans in a few weeks, but you can bet the Saints would love to serve their revenge ice cold, if they can. All of this being said, of course you can't wait for them to meet in 2019 as well, too. Keep the good football times rolling. Series record 1-7-1-6-0. Cowboys led. You might not believe it, considering how different the two teams have been lately, but the Cowboys own a series lead against the Rams, including 3 of the last 5 after the two seesawed in every meeting prior to 2008. The Sean McVay-led Rams took the victory in 2017, in a contest that should have gone to the Cowboys. The latter failed to make third-quarter adjustments though, and that ultimately gave Los Angeles the win as running back Todd Gurley had his way. Time will tell if the two meet in the playoffs this season, making a potential 18th win for the Cowboys, one that could propel them to the Super Bowl for the first time since the mid-1990s. No matter what happens this January though, they'll lock horns again in the fall. Series record 7-4-0. Cowboys led. This is one of the few games on the 2019 slate that see the teams having rarely met, while also not carrying much history between the teams. The Jets are back to their questionable ways after surging at times in recent memory, and the Cowboys have recovered from their ailing ways to clinch their division and host their second playoff game in the last 3 seasons. Sam Darnold is a bright spot for the future of the Jets, and he'll get a chance to face one of the best pass rush fronts in the NFL when he lines up against the Cowboys. That being something to watch in and of itself, this isn't a cakewalk of a game by any means though, with the Jets having won 3 of the last 5 and 4 of the last 7. Given the parity of the NFL, there will undoubtedly be other storylines in tow by the time these clubs square off in 2019, and that's what makes you look forward to it. After all, there's something to be said for the Cowboys looking to beat up on both New York teams. Series record 1-9-1-7-0. Packers led. When it comes to establishing themselves as a new rival of the Cowboys, Packers have made no qualms about being the kraken that guards the treasure. The good news is Green Bay isn't in the playoffs this time around, having ended 2 of the most storied Dallas seasons in memory, sending them packing in their first playoff game in 2 of the previous 4 seasons. Now in shambles, the Cowboys could turn the tables going forward, beginning in 2019. The Packers have won 7 of their last 8 meetings with the Cowboys, a flat-out ugly stat. Dez Bryant still caught it though. Series record 7-5-0. Cowboys led. Legacy. Here are two of the most storied franchises in all of football, but having done it at different times in the history of the sport. When the Patriots were still trying to figure out how to string together meaningful wins, the Cowboys were the kings of the castle and swatting away all who challenged them, sans the occasional uprising by the 49ers or Steelers. The tables have turned mightily though, and it's now Dallas who can't figure out how to make their way to the Super Bowl, while New England has rattled off 5 championships under the leadership of Tom Brady, who is now the most accomplished quarterback in NFL history. A microcosm of their reversed fortunes is their series record, wherein the Cowboys won all 7 of their first meetings before the Patriots bounced back to win the last 5 in a row. The Patriots are currently the gold standard for replicating success, while the Cowboys continue to find ways to stick around the middle of the pack, but sooner or later, the tide will have to turn for both clubs. The question is, when? Stay tuned. Series record, 6-5, 4-6-2, Cowboys led. The Giants swept the Cowboys in 2016, 2 of only 3 regular season blemishes on the otherwise stellar rookie record of Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. That didn't put a dent in overall record though, with the Cowboys owning the Giants on a regular basis, winning 5 straight before the aforementioned sweep, as well as the last 3 contests. The Cowboys will have a chance to broom them in 2018 when the two sides square off in Week 17, but there will be no spoilers occurring, because playoff clinch, Dallas has nothing to gain in the matchup outside of momentum for January. There's a lot of talent in New York, but issues at key positions, keeping them at the bottom of the division for the 2nd straight year. It's unknown if we'll see Eli Manning in a Giants uniform come 2019, and whether he is or he is not, it's must-see TV when these two teams go to war. Series record, 7-1, 4-5-2, Cowboys led. Speaking of owning a team, the Redskins have routinely had nothing for the Cowboys outside of a burst brought on by Robert Griffin, III and Alfred Morris in 2012. Before and after that frame of time, it's been all Cowboys, who have winners of 9 of the last 12 meetings. With the potentially career-ending injury on Alex Smith and questions at the running back position for the future, you didn't think Adrian Peterson could play another 5 years, did you? The Redskins are moving backward and in a big way, having released Pro Bowl safety DJ Swearinger for criticizing the coaching and seeing Pro Bowl cornerback Josh Norman a shell of himself the last few games. It stands to reason this series will continue to tilt in the Cowboys' favor going forward. It's still a division game though, meaning anything can happen. Series record, 6-8, 5-2, Cowboys led. At this point, you're picking up on a trend regarding the NFC East and the Cowboys' dominance thereof. The Eagles winning their first ever Super Bowl following the 2017 season creates recency bias within many, with fans and many members of the media feeling as if the division somehow belonged to Philadelphia by default in 2018. Now that they've been swept by the Cowboys and lost the NFC East crown, everyone is settling back into the reality that there is still much to figure out in eastern Pennsylvania. The same is true of the Cowboys when discussing their inconsistent defense, but the defense has been stellar and more than enough to overcome the Eagles twice this season and in 3 of the last 5 games. The division could again come down to one of these two teams in 2019, making both of their battles exceedingly meaningful. Besides, why on earth would you ever miss seeing these two bitter enemies go nose to nose? Don't be that guy, or gal.